Alright, welcome to our second video for flight testers. At the end of the first video, we had just finished uploading the data that we downloaded from the device to the website. Now we're going to take a look at the website and see how to view that data and what we can do with it. So from the home page, if you click on the Flight Log tab, it'll bring up a list of all of the flights that have been uploaded, and this is for all of the users. Using the drop down, you can filter it if you just want to see the flights that you've uploaded, or if you're interested to see what somebody else has uploaded. So at the top we can see our demo flight. This is what we recorded in the last video, and there it plots the data for us. The blue trace is the altitude that it was recorded, and in red is the vertical velocity. So since this was just a vacuum chamber flight, it's not that interesting, and if we go back to the previous page, we can scroll down a little bit further and look at some actual flights. In addition to all those, you'll notice these checkout runs. These are vacuum chamber tests for each individual unit after they're assembled, and you should have one of these numbers written on the bag that you received. So if we find an actual flight, we'll pick on, how about this guy? This was a low power flight, a relatively small model, but it gives you an idea of what a real flight data would look like. So this had an apogee of just over 400 feet, and you can see in the red trace there's a nice smooth velocity profile as it goes over the top. So about a second later, you can see this is the point where the ejection charge fired, and in this version of the firmware there was a little bit of an oscillation after that. That's been mostly cleaned up, but it gives you a good idea of what that event looked like in the data. So to interact with the chart, you'll notice that if you scroll with the mouse, you can zoom in and then you can pan left and right by dragging. So if you want to see exactly what the velocity was when the charge fired, you can hover over that point, and then at the top of the plot it'll give you a readout of what that data is. So here we can see that it was actually about 25 feet per second when the ejection fired. So that's a handy thing to be able to check on. The same thing is if you zoom in, you can drag the box on the lower section, and this shows an overall view of the flight profile. So if there's something specific that you wanted to see, you can just drag that box to exactly where you want to view. The same thing if it's not in the area that you want to see, you can just select a region and it'll automatically zoom to that part of the flight profile. If we zoom down further, you can see here's the flight description that we entered when we uploaded the data, and it shows who it was posted by and gives you an option to download the data. So if you click on that, it'll actually download the CSV file, and if you look in that CSV file, you'll see a couple of headings. There's the time when that point was recorded, the pressure in kPa, the altitude, and the velocity that correspond to those points. So this is essentially the raw data from the sensor in column B, and then the processed altitude and velocity that the unit calculated based on that. So you can even download this and run your own algorithms to process the pressure into an altitude profile and compare it. Below that, it gives options for temperature, average wind, wind gusts, humidity, and there's also a field for motor data. If you want to edit the flight, you'll need to be logged in as the user who uploaded the data. So if this was your flight, I uploaded the data, it'll give me an option to edit it, or I can delete the file as well. So if we go into the edit menu, it's exactly the same fields that are displayed, except now they're text boxes, so you can change the text. You can even upload a different log file. So if you wanted to reprocess the data and upload the flight again, you can change the actual data that it's plotting. So if we wanted to put in a temperature, say it was 65 degrees when we flew this, we can enter that, save changes, and it'll take us back to the flight plot with a confirmation that we did update the data. And now it shows the temperature that we selected. So that's pretty much it. That's what most of the data looks like. If we go all the way back to the log listing, you can go through all of the different flights that are on here. This was a different model, a slightly smaller model on a B motor, about the same altitude, but you can see a little bit faster off the pad. And here, this is the current version of the firmware that the device is shipped with, and you can see that the ejection spikes are pretty well cleaned up. It's kind of hard to see actually, but this is the point where the charge fired, and you can see from this profile we were actually going up at 36 feet per second when that happened, so the charge was a little early on this. So again, nice things to be able to look at. and an overall summary of the flight as it was recorded. So back to the overall log page. Again, if you want to select a single user, this was the demo that we had to record for Apple to get the app approved. You can filter by individual users of who uploaded or view everything that's been going on. So that's flight logs in a nutshell. Hopefully that helps. And again, if you need any assistance while you're running the test, please let us know. Contact me. I'll do my best to help, and we'll get things figured out. Thanks again. Good luck.